I'm Amber McCrae, a nutritional therapist. I help women become more in tune with their mind, body, and soul through holistic nutrition and emotionally focused therapy. I help them create a more meaningful, energetic, and connecting life. Trigger warning. Sensitive content, including discussions about sexual abuse, will be addressed in this episode. If you find this topic distressing or triggering, please take care of yourself and consider skipping this episode. Your well-being is so important to us. Hey there, fellow seekers of growth and transformation. I'm absolutely thrilled to introduce our extraordinary guest today, the one and only Phoenix Freedom. As a lifestyle blogger, podcaster, and teacher of starting over, Phoenix brings a unique blend of wisdom and authenticity to the table. Through her own personal journey of starting over, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, sexually, physically, and financially, she has experienced firsthand the power of resilience and transformative potential that lies within each of us. With a passion for emotional healing, holistic nutrition, and fostering deep connections, Phoenix has become a guiding light for those seeking to reclaim their power and embrace a life of authenticity. Her openness and vulnerability in sharing her own experiences with trauma is just truly inspiring, creating a safe space for others to explore their own feelings and self-expression. So get ready to dive in with me to the realms of starting over, healing trauma, and forging meaningful connections as we embark on this conversation with the incredible Miss Phoenix Freedom. It's time to tap into our own transformative potential and create a life filled with purpose and connection. So please join me in giving the warmest welcome to our remarkable guest,
Hello,
Phoenix Freedom.
hello.
Thank you so much,
You too, Mama.
sweetheart.
How are you today?
Not too bad. We're being real today. We're showing up.
Yep, you
We
gotta
are
show up
showing
and
up.
show out even when you don't feel like it at times.
That's
You know.
right.
Thank you
That's
for the
right.
introduction. I was just like, oh, okay. That's me. That's what I do.
You deserve
Thank
that.
you.
It's, especially I find that as healers and in this realm of people that I am connecting with, is that we often forget our own light and our own value. So that is one of the reasons I absolutely love working with other beautiful, amazing, strong women and just creating that tribe of lifting one another up and just fixing each other's crowns and like, listen, beautiful,
Hmm.
beautiful woman, you got this. You are created so beautifully and you are giving so much. And even though been through so
Hmm.
much shit, that you still have so much beauty and so much to give to the world. And we thank you
Oh,
for
thank you. I
that.
appreciate it. It's been a roller coaster of emotions. Like I was telling you earlier before you press recording that I pretty much have been in an emotional breakdown because it's been 30 days since I walked away from the relationship that I was in. And there's love there. There's still love there. Like I still love the person. And so like I have to really sit with myself and sit with my emotions and my feelings and whatever else is coming up. And it's been a lot for the last 30 days. And I know I'm going to still go through a lot in the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, a year, whatever. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like we said, showing up and showing out despite what we're
Yeah.
going through. And for me, it's always been, even though I'm going through something, there's always someone that's going through something much, much way off. And so I seek out those people to help them because it helps me at the same time.
Right. Right. And kind of to piggyback that is the authenticity of showing up and saying, hey, we're not
Yeah.
always great. We're real. We experience everything that you all
Hmm.
experience. This is why we're doing this, is so you guys don't have to feel
Yeah.
alone, because we're not. We're all on the same fucking
Absolutely.
journey.
And I feel like sometimes when you're a healer, speaker, coach, author, whatever the case may be, people have this misconception that you have it all together, that, you can't make a
Right.
mistake, you're not human. Because I'm finding right now in my circle that I'm experiencing the energy of disappointment and you should know better because of who I am and
Mm,
what I represent, not realizing that I'm still human, that I was blindsided in a lot of
right.
ways. And it's okay for me to hold myself accountable and responsible for the role and part that I played, but it still doesn't excuse what happened to me. And it still shouldn't be like, okay, well, you knew what you were getting yourself into. So I'm having to deal
Yeah.
with that as well, where it's just like, well, you should know better, this, da, 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 da. I'm just sitting here like, wow, okay. So I have to process all of that too. And the other thing about it is when a person has been through something traumatic as abuse, it's not the very best time for friends and family to like judge them or, chastise them, because you don't know
Mm,
what a person's mental state of being is. That person may be on the verge of
right.
suicide. You have no idea what's going on in their mind.
Right.
It's best to
Exactly.
just like hold space, bite your tongue, and also remember,
Mm,
put yourself in a person's shoes. What if that was you? You wouldn't even know how you would operate or navigate through the whole situation. So
right.
it's been a lot.
And have you found, because I think what I'm hearing you say is that not only are you going through this really emotional
Mhm.
experience and reliving all that trauma, and like you said, mixed emotions with being proud of yourself for taking the steps to make a healthier life for you, but also that
Mhm.
heartbreak of losing somebody that you love and invested in. But now you have your tribe, these people who you have surrounded yourself with,
Mhm.
judging and not being that safe place. And especially as a healer, we all need safe
Mhm.
spaces. We all need people to just be there for
Mhm.
us and to just, like you said, hold space. And I think that, I don't know if you find this to be true, is that I find people do that when they're like, hey, you should have known better, or trying to fix the
Mhm.
situation because it makes them
Yeah, it makes them
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable, and it probably triggers something in them that they went through and they probably haven't
Right.
healed from it. And so
Exactly.
here I come and I'm going through this and I'm showing up and showing out. And it's like you're moving too fast in your healing journey because I'm creating jewelry or I'm going getting back into my center. But for me, it's important for me to get back to myself where I'm not going into depressed mode or, going behind closed doors. I had a natal chart reading yesterday, and the one thing that she told me is that don't hide yourself. You belong in the spotlight. Be in the
Mm,
spotlight. Be, and that's who you are. So for me, it's important, and I know that it's going to be a hard road ahead because, of course, you get triggered, and I'm learning that I have to unlearn patterns which I've developed in that relationship because I was in
right.
survival mode.
Right.
So it's learning how to
Yeah,
like not
exactly.
suppress, not suffocate myself, to like really speak up and say how I feel. And that's the reason why the day after I left, I went on Facebook Live and I spoke my truth and I said exactly what the hell was going on with me. You
Yeah.
know?
And I think that we've talked
Yeah.
about this a little bit, that I think that that's why people do follow and why people do
Mhm.
love you and you do resonate with them, because what I found is people who are authentic, people
Mhm.
relate to that. People relate to that because we're talking about the things that people don't talk about. I like to call them the taboo
Mhm.
topics. It's things that we all deal with, that we all think about. Like you mentioned, suicide. I think it's such a taboo topic, but it's so
Yeah.
normal to talk and think and to have these
Mhm.
emotions about it, but we
Yeah.
just don't talk about it, you know? And so I think that that is one of the reasons that you really stood
Mhm.
out to me, was the authenticity of just saying, "Hey, this shit's going on. I'm real. I'm going through it. This is what I'm experiencing," so that others don't feel so
Yeah.
alone.
Absolutely.
That's huge.
Absolutely.
So, with that, in your journey of starting
Mhm.
over, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, all of
Mhm.
these things, what are some key practices or modalities that had the most profound impact on your transformation? Maybe in the past, or and now you're, because we start over so many
Absolutely.
different times, right?
I
Several
think for
times.
me, the key thing for me right now is to always remind myself, remember who the fuck you are. Remember who the fuck you are. Remember what your purpose is. Remember why you're here. And reflect back on all of the shit before this experience that you've been through, that you were able to still rise up from the ashes every fucking time. So why would this experience
Mm,
be any different? Yes, it hurts like a motherfucker. But I also remember
right.
almost dying in 2011. I had fibroids. They almost killed me, and I have scars to prove it. And I always promised myself on the deathbed that I didn't want to be the shoulda, coulda, woulda person in my life. I never wanted to be that person because God
Mm,
forbid my time comes whenever it is. I never want to say shit. God gave me, the God of my understanding gave me an opportunity to live life. I have my second chance at life. So why the fuck am I going to waste it? So those are the things
right.
that I carry with me, in my heart space when it comes to starting over, rebuilding emotionally, mentally, sexually, all of it. And the one thing that kept me going when I was in the abusive relationship is to remind myself, remember who the fuck you are. And also, two, realizing that sometimes we're placed in situations because being a healer, teacher, leader, spiritual coach, whatever you want to call me, if I can't go through those experiences and come out on top, how the fuck am I supposed to help somebody else? How am I? How can I tell
Yes.
you, oh, I understand
Yes.
what you mean and what you're going through, and I really don't understand.
Right.
Like I had a client one time come to me, and she was going through her dark night of the soul and her ascension and awakening process,
Mhm.
and I couldn't help her because I hadn't been through mine. So I'm like, I can't
Mm,
take your money because I can't help you. I don't know what to do. And then when I went through my process, my dark night of the soul and my awakening and my ascension, then I was like, oh shit, now I understand what she's going through. So if she was ever to come back to me, I'll be like, yeah, girl, I know exactly what you're going through.
right. I love that perspective. And I just have to say that I love remember who the fuck you are so much that I put it on a coin for my best friend when he got
Nice.
married. I absolutely love that phrase. So that just resonated through every fiber of
Yeah,
my being. I was like,
it's the
oh
truth.
my gosh.
I think, for me, I've been through so many different experiences in my life, from being married and divorced 3 times to coming out at 40 to having crazy ass relationships, abuse, all the whole 9 yards. And the one thing I've come back to is really, really learning how to be authentic and truthful about what I've been
Hmm.
through, because I never want anyone to say, I can expose you and I can blackmail you. No, I prefer to expose myself. I'm going to
Right.
expose myself, because
Yes.
at that point, you have no power over me. You have no power over me. It's like Brene
Right.
Brown says, the best way to take back your power is to expose the shame, expose the judgment, the
Right.
guilt, the fear, expose all of it from yourself, because that's how you take back your power. And that's something that I stand on very strongly. So no one can ever say, oh, she did this or she did that. Da, 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 da. No, you can't say that, because I told on myself. So
Right.
I think with me sharing my truth, first of all, I wasn't going to share because I'm like, oh my God, but what would the person I was with think, feel? And I'm like, bitch, no, she abused you. Fuck it. Talk about it. Because people need to know. People need to pay attention to people who they're with, ask questions. Because now, right now, I have really, really bad trust issues when it comes to new people in my life. I'm like paying
Mhm.
attention to what you say versus what you do, your actions, your words, all of it. And I'm not even in
Right.
a space of like entertaining a relationship. Like, I'm gonna be a celibate bitch for like a whole year. Fuck everybody and their mama. I'm not doing it. Don't look at me. Don't smell me. Don't touch me. Don't be in my aura, my force field. I don't. Leave me alone. I swear, like that's how I am right now, because I have to really investigate why these people have come to me, but also too, I have to realize, because of my light and my pureness and my authenticity and my essence, I'm going to attract all types of fucking people.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
So I can't fault myself for being created the way that I was created. I can't do that. And I can't feel guilty for being very, very authentically loving and caring and compassionate to humanity. I'm a humanitarian. And so
Yeah.
people who are around me, I feel like, not that they don't have to accept me, but they need that. I feel like they should respect who I am, because when I'm in your presence and you're a friend, family member, whatever, and you need me to hold space and listen, I do that authentically. I do it with the most
Hmm.
caring part of my core. And so when it comes to me, it's just like, well, damn, like, why does it have to be a one-sided situation when it's like, okay, well, now it's me going through something and I'm being looked up down upon, like, well, you should know better and you're the person, because I'm the go-to person for everybody else. And I posted something on Facebook the other day that says, yes, I may be stubborn and hard-headed, but I'm the fucking hard-headed and stubborn bitch everyone wants to come to when they're going through shit. Me. For advice, for
Right.
a sounding board, for this, for that. And I said, tell the countless people who have I've helped throughout my lifetime, who I've give inspiration to, empowerment to, of me being stubborn and hard headed, and putting myself into situations where sometimes I know I didn't belong in, but I felt like I needed to learn the lesson.
Mm,
Because for
that's
me, I
huge.
feel like God of my own understanding created me, designed me in a way when I came to earth school, that it's not an
Mm.
option for me to take a shortcut. I have to go the long way. I can't. It's
Right.
just not in me to do that. Like I see the shortcut.
I feel
You
you,
know?
girl. I
So
feel
it's
you.
like,
I
I
do, for
can't go down that
sure.
road. That's too short. I gotta go down this road, and I gotta go through the thorns and the knives and the fire and all the shit that comes along with it. Because how can you call yourself a leader, a teacher, a healer if you cannot experience pain and suffering? It's gonna come with it. When you sign up for herb school and you come here to be a humanitarian, you have to go through the fucking trenches. There's no ways, ifs, ors about it. None.
Yeah, I love it. I super agree. So, Phoenix, your openness and vulnerability in sharing your experiences with trauma is inspiring. I love it. It's beautiful, it's sexy, it's
Mm-hmm.
attractive, and it's
Mm-hmm.
so bright. It creates a sense of connection for the listeners and for the
Mm-hmm.
people who follow you as well. So by addressing the uncomfortable topics and breaking the silence, you help others feel less alone and give them permission to embrace their own
Mm-hmm.
journey of healing and
Mm-hmm.
self-expression. So, in your transformative process, how has adopting a more holistic approach, encompassing emotional awareness and herbalism and spiritual practices, really played a role in your healing journey and in fostering those deeper connections with yourself
I
and
think for
others?
me is removing the fog so I can see clearly. So
Mm,
because right
mm,
now
yes.
I'm called to fast, I'm fasting fruits, vegetables, salad, water, so on and so forth. That's what my body is calling me to do. So I'm going through an emotional, mental, and spiritual detox in my body. So when you're treating your body a certain kind of way, that's you connecting to your higher self, connecting to your intuition, connecting to source.
Mm,
And so when you do those things, it gives you an opportunity to really see clearly, feel clearly. It heightens your way of thinking and being on a different level. And so with the connection part, it helps me to be powerfully intuitive when it comes to helping people, either through oracle cards or medium or psychic or mystic or whatever the case may be. And so I can see
yeah.
clearly, I can feel, I can even hear clearly. And so the message comes across
Hmm.
even more powerfully than if I was to put a whole bunch of shit in my body. But when I put shit in my body's be like, okay, bitch, you want to eat that food? Okay, you're going to be on the toilet for 7 days, 5 times a day. So go ahead,
Exactly.
do it. Go. 'Cause I did it for
Right.
the last couple of days, and I've just been purging like a motherfucker. So my body's like, okay, you want to put that fries in your body again, and the nuggets in your and the chocolate? Go ahead, do it. I dare you. I do it. I wish you would, and I'm just like shit. So that's what it does for me. I just have to pay it. It's just paying attention to your body, and knowing that everything in moderation. Everything in moderation,
Right. Exactly.
including too, because me, like I
I love
said,
that.
I'm going to practice celibacy because for me, I have a very heightened sexual side of myself that I know that I need to control. And I think that's why
Hmm.
I've been in long-term relationships the way I have, because in my early 20s to my 30s I was exceptionally promiscuous. That part of me is still there.
Hmm.
She hasn't gone anywhere.
Right.
So it's me taming her
Right.
now and practicing celibacy and not wanting to look for people to be with. Everyone has their addiction, their vices. That was mine. It's mine. So I have to own it and
Right.
be truthful with myself. Like, if you go down that road, what's going to happen? So control.
I think I hear you saying in all of that that, restoring balance
Hmm.
within your body removes that fog and gives you
Hmm.
that baseline of a place to be able to hear that clarity. That's just
Yep.
what I keep thinking,
Absolutely.
clarity within your body. We're frequencies, we're in tune with everything. And if we're clouding it, like you said, and bogging it down, we're not unable to
Absolutely.
feel, emotionally, physically, mentally hear. Everything is
Hmm.
clogged and bogged
Hmm.
down. And then with that, talking about, um,
The sexual part, yeah.
yes, thank you. Yes, that part, because I was curious on your thoughts, because for me, when I went to date my current husband, that was something I
Hmm.
had experienced because I had when I had started healing myself, that sexuality really came out that was
Yep.
never there before. And so for me, that was the thing. I said, if I want to do something different, if I want something different, I have to do something
Absolutely.
different. And this would be
Hmm.
different. And so we did. It was, very tough. And it was sort of confusing because I wasn't super religious
Yeah,
at that time, but I knew it was something that I needed for
absolutely.
myself. Like you said, that self-control to be able to
Yeah.
get something
Yeah, because
different.
I've always been a relationship type of chick. If I
Mhm.
was breaking up with somebody or whatever, I'd be in a relationship 2 weeks later, a month later, or whatever the case may be. So I have to exercise learning how to be okay with my own company. Learning that it's okay to be single and to be really single and not be dating and talking to this one, da 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 da. That it's okay to just be by myself and date myself and really, really find out who I am. And
Yeah.
the journey isn't linear. It's just all over the place. You're gonna have ups, downs, all around, this, that, next, and a third, and whatever the case may be. Plus, like I see beautiful people all the time, like women. I'm like, oh my god, damn, she cute. I'm like, all right, calm down. You just, like I have eyes. I'm gonna look, but it's me really, really being in tune with myself and being present in my awareness and what that looks like for me, and paying attention to my habits and my patterns. And that's not gonna happen overnight. If you've been doing something for the last 40 something years, it is a
Right.
process. And so for me, this is a process for me to say, okay, I'm seriously going to be single. I'm not going to date anybody. I'm not going to do this. I'm not looking for any, because honestly, my energy may have attracted these people that I was with, but I wasn't looking when I met my previous person I
Yeah.
was with just now. I wasn't looking. Same thing with my ex-wife. I was not looking whatsoever. I may have manifested specific things that each person had within them. Yes, I did that. I manifested that. I would
Mhm.
want somebody to da, 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 da. But now it's manifesting exactly what I wanted myself.
Mm.
And
Huge.
so I guess
That
that's why a
shift.
lot of people in my life they don't believe when I'm saying I'm really, really in tune with me because of my patterns, and I get it and I understand it. But with those patterns, I've grown so much as a person. I've been through tumultuous dark nights of the soul. I've been through so many ascensions. I've been through so many awakenings, and I've changed and I've grown so much in my life, where I went from a person who masked everything, did not tell the truth, lie,
Mhm.
embellished, was afraid of confrontation, all of that, to a person who is fully, fully honest and transparent and willing to share and be honest and truthful about who I am and what I've done. And that says a lot about who I am. And so I have to really, really give myself a pep talk, like, girl, you're doing a good job. I'm so fucking proud of who you're becoming.
Yeah.
And pat myself on the back.
Yes.
If no one else is going to do it, I have to do it.
You said so many huge things in there, and then my brain is just going with so much I want to talk to you about, like not having
Mhm.
secret. And I think that for me, that really resonates as well, because when you have been a person, and
Mhm.
correct me if I'm wrong, when you have been a person who has lied, who has cheated, who has done these things, the shame
Mhm.
and guilt that we had carried for a period is what
Yeah.
kept us down. The moment we were able to say, those don't define me. Yes, they helped create who
Yep.
I am, but making peace, and I think that's kind of where shadow
Yes,
work comes
exactly.
in, is loving
Mhm.
those parts of us just as much. They're not
Mhm.
bad parts of us. They're just part choices that we made. And like you said, having no secrets. You can't hold this over me because I don't hold it
Exactly.
over myself. And that's the only way that people can hold things over you, is if you are holding it over
Yep.
yourself. And so that really, really
Yep.
resonated, because I am the same. I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm an open book.
absolutely.
I have zero fuck, because this is how I learn and grow, and this is how you learn
Absolutely.
and grow. If you haven't made these mistakes, you may be in a situation that
Exactly.
you do. Then when you do, then you can come back
Exactly.
and get what you
Exactly.
need. And I'll hold space for you in that moment, because I know what that
Mhm.
shit feels
Mm-hmm.
like.
Absolutely. And that's where I am right now with my purpose. And my purpose is to teach, lead, and share through my experiences and everything that I've been through. So that's why it's important for me to
Right.
share what I'm going through on a daily basis, because it's not only helping me and other people, but it's absolutely powerfully fucking therapeutic. It's therapeutic. It's just
Right.
like a bleh,
Yes.
because people don't understand when you hold in so much strife and conflict and confusion within the self. That's what causes all these fucking physical ailments.
Amen to that. I don't I think we talked about
Hmm.
this before, but when you were talking about your illness and when you went through everything and it manifested
Yep.
as a physical illness, that as well, it is so true, which is one of the reasons I'm so passionate about combining the
Mm-hmm.
holistic nutrition and the emotionally focused
Mm-hmm.
therapy, because similar experience when I was going through a very
Mm-hmm.
toxic relationship and I was lying and there was cheating and all of these very toxic things. I had one stage before cancer. I had
Mm-hmm.
to have that removed. That
No,
was
it
not an
wasn't.
accident.
God of your understanding has a way to,
That I gave that
yeah.
to
And then
myself.
God of your own understanding has a way of sitting you the fuck down, because when you're not listening and you're not paying attention, it's like, oh, you don't want to listen? Boom. And
Right,
that's what happened to me with my near death experience.
right,
It was like, your
exactly.
ass don't want to sit down. You want to people please. You want to be a pushover. You want to help Tom, Dick, Harry, Mary, Sue, and Jane. All right, I got something for you. Sit your ass down.
Right. Exactly. So with
Hmm.
all of that, I'm sure that so many of our listeners may be going through very
Hmm.
similar things. So for who is listening and maybe in the
Hmm.
midst of their trauma and still feeling
Yeah.
stuck in their healing journey, what advice or guidance would you have for them? What practical steps could they like take home, or strategies that they can implement to begin to break free from the grips of that trauma and really move forward or through into a more healing and
I would say
transformational
get a
space?
journal and every day write in a journal, how am I feeling today? And be very fucking honest about how you're feeling and transfer that energy from
Mm,
your mind, heart, body, and spirit to the paper. That's one thing I would
yeah.
say.
Do you think that in that created a safe space for
Yes,
you to feel everything without
yes,
that
because
judgment?
I had to like literally sit with myself and write down how I was feeling from
Yeah.
childhood shit to adolescent to 20s, 30s, whatever. And when you start writing those things down, the parts of you, the little girl, the teenager, the 20-year-old, the 30 something year old, they're going
Hmm.
to tell you exactly what it is that they want you to convey on that fucking paper. It's like take
Right.
a week or so, or 2 weeks to just be silent and still have like a social media detox where you're just writing. Don't even listen to music.
Hmm.
Just write. Write until your heart's content. Write
Yeah.
until you have no more fucking ink in the pen and until all those emotions and feelings are out of your system, and read what you wrote. Go back 2, 3 days
Yeah.
later and read what you wrote. Like, damn shit, like I was feeling like that. Fuck, that's crazy. Because you'll get an
Yeah.
understanding of what's going on in your brain. And also too, when those negative thoughts come in, this is a lie. This is not true about who I am. Do not believe the negative
Yeah.
lies that your brain is telling you. Replace that shit with positive affirmation. That is not who I am. I know who the fuck I am. This is who I am. I'm loving, I'm caring, I'm powerful, I'm strong, da 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 da. Because what happens is that when you start believing those negative scenarios and stories that you tell yourself, you can and you're liable to develop suicidal ideation,
Hmm.
because you start
Yeah.
believing all the bullshit. And it's not only your bullshit that you're believing or telling yourself, it's bullshit that
Hmm.
other people told you. That's not your truth.
Yeah. So I heard this, my daughter sent me this thing. I don't know who said it, but they were saying the mind,
Mm-hmm.
they want to say, gives it two
Yep.
truths and a lie. It says, I didn't do the dishes and I didn't accomplish anything today. So I am a bad
Mm-hmm.
person. So I am horrible. I am not
Mm-hmm.
worth being here. And usually I have found that to be true, that when those negative thoughts come in, there are some truths
Yeah.
wrapped into that, which makes it very difficult for us to unravel and distinguish what is true and what
Yes,
is
absolutely.
not.
Especially when you're dealing with a person that has narcissistic tendencies and you're being manipulated, it's even harder because in my
Mm.
situation, the person I was with felt as if though I was dissociating and started diagnosing me of having DAD and having all these personalities at the same time. However, because I'm a spiritual channeler, spirits walk through me. I've had
Mm.
grandparents and aunties, uncles, and cousins and shit like that when I'm doing readings walk through me.
Mm.
So there were instances in a relationship. It was one time we went to visit her spiritual teacher, and a couple days later we went back to wherever we were. We went to a park, and I was in fully fucking trance mode where I had all these different identities popping in and out of me, which could have been people or
Oh,
women
wow.
from past lives or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And I would go in and out of trances. Never done that before with anybody
Mm.
or anything like that. So for me, it wasn't, I didn't feel like I was dissociating. Dissociation, yes, hits my brain every now and again, but dissociation for me automatically started the day when I was sexually molested at 7 years old and my spirit left my body and I was watching
Mm.
myself be abused. So
Right.
for me, from the early
Yeah.
age, I've been a mystic. I've been a healer because I was able to disconnect and go back into my body. So it's a completely different thing, you know?
Yeah, so I think I hear in that this experience, there was a difference,
Mm-hmm.
a definitive difference in disassociating and being
Mm-hmm.
a medium, being
Mm-hmm.
open, and an
Yep.
intermediate
Mm-hmm.
person. And so that was very a distinct difference for you. And I think that goes back to really being in tune with
Mm-hmm.
yourself and being able to distinguish these differences, whether it's that fear
Yeah.
or the love, whether it's this is true or this is negative, whether this is a spiritual thing or this is a
Right.
disassociation, circles back to baseline of your body and
Mm-hmm.
nutrition and clarity and spiritually cleansing and being in tune. And I always tell people I'm working with is that the baby steps, it's a
Exactly.
muscle. It's a muscle that we are not taught how
Mm-hmm.
to use. And so you can't just jump
Exactly.
in and start with these really big
Exactly.
decisions and think that oh, I can just tap into my intuition, my
Mm-hmm.
gut feeling. And so I always tell everybody to start with the baby steps, like lay out 2 shirts, whichever one speaks to you, wear
Exactly.
that one. I always do these little
Mm-hmm.
exercises.
Absolutely.
There is something else that
Mm-hmm.
keeps coming to my mind. And I was listening to one of your podcasts and I wanted to know if you'd be willing to talk
Sure.
about it a little bit because it's a topic that I find absolutely fascinating is about our names. And so I have a lot of clients who've expressed too, they feel disconnected
Mm-hmm.
from the name,
Mm-hmm.
their name. I've invited them to explore what name might
Mm-hmm.
resonate with them because I find it so fascinating that we are given these names by people who do
Uh-huh.
not know us,
Mm-hmm.
right? That we're supposed to be connected to, which is a huge part of our
Mm-hmm.
identity per se, and it has
Yeah.
nothing to do with
My
us.
name Phoenix is was given to me from my spiritual mother, Egyptian goddess Isis. My government name is Dillis, which my grandmother
Mm.
gave me. But I resonate with Phoenix and I resonate with freedom because my whole entire life has been based on being a free spirited person. I'm freedom. I embody freedom all day, all night. I'm not a person to conform. I don't like to be caged. Don't try to tell me what the fuck to do. Just it don't work out that way.
Yeah.
So for me, Phoenix is I embody the Phoenix because I've risen from the ashes so many times: abuse, near-death experiences, miscarriages, stillborn, loss of jobs. This that I could go on and on and on. The list goes on. 3 marriages, 3 divorces. Like
Right.
my life has been an open book to that point. Not having the best relationship with my mom, doing better having a relationship with my father, uh, having to speak to my siblings about the fact that their father was the one that abused me when I was younger, and being able to tell my siblings still love your father, regardless of what, because he's your father. You know what I mean? So I've been
Mm.
through so many
Yeah.
different types of challenges in life that I write books about them, my struggles and things like that. You know what I'm saying? I speak about it. I have the podcast. I did this, I did that.
Right.
And it's to the point that I had to come to terms with and say, this is your truth, this is your story, this is your experience. And sometimes it was one point where my family was upright pissed off with me because I'm sharing my truth, because it feels like I'm giving away the family secrets, or stuff like that, or you
Mm.
that's you don't talk about that. Why the fuck can't I talk about it? It's my experience.
Right.
Or even when I came
Right.
out, it was like, oh my God, I can't believe she's gay. She's this, she's that, da, 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 da. And I told my father one day, I said, if I wasn't mentally, emotionally, and spiritually strong as I am, my ass would have jumped off the fucking bridge. How much judgment I've had over my life because I'm
Yeah.
just choosing to be
Right.
myself. And it triggers people
Right.
because they don't have the balls and the guts to be themselves. They want to be exactly who society wants
Exactly.
them to be, who their family wants them to be, who their friends want them to be. I don't operate like that. I'm not wired like that. I never was and I never will be.
Right. That fear for them is
Mhm.
so catastrophic and just
Mhm.
is deafening
Yeah.
for everything that they can't seem to
Yeah.
break through that. I'm feeling led to just kind of go back and validate and kind of talk about, I know that a lot, if
Mhm.
you're comfortable with it, a lot of listeners have
Mm-hmm.
been sexually abused and how to cope with not cope, but how to regain self. Because like you said, when you were that small girl, that
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
disassociation, that
Mm-hmm.
disconnect from yourself, so many have experienced but are unable to find how to
It's a lot of
reconnect
self
with
forgiveness.
the
It's a lot of self compassion because, like I said, I lost my virginity at 19, and when that was done, it was a fucking free for all. Free for all. It was the analogy I've always
Mhm.
given was I was a filet mignon, nicely seasoned with all the seasoning, potato, just nicely drizzled. The chef in the kitchen, mwah, he did the whole thing. And you take the plate, which is me, with the food on it, you put it on top of a garbage pail container, and you just give it to everybody and say, "Here, do what the fuck you want to do with me, because I don't care about myself."
Mm,
And
right,
it's coming to the place of being completely honest that yes, I mistreated myself. I abused my own self by allowing other people to abuse me, and coming to that truth for the self
right,
and just saying no more. I'm not going to do
right,
that anymore, and giving yourself grace and compassion the way that you would give other people grace and compassion, loving yourself to the utmost the same way you would do it for other people, acknowledging that you've been through certain things, not hiding it. That's how you start the
right.
process of healing and going through your emotions. Just go through your emotions. So many people stuff so much shit down. I remember one time in 2020 when I was going through my dark night of the soul, and I would never speak and say what was on my mind. And my ex-wife would be like, "You okay, babe?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And something was bothering me. I developed a fucking lump in my throat. There
Mhm.
was like a stone stuck in my throat every time I didn't
Yep,
speak my truth. And I had to just be honest and just start saying what it is that I felt. I had to say it because if
right,
not, then I would always have that lump. It would just pop up out of nowhere. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? To the point where I couldn't eat. I was throwing up. I couldn't drink anything. I was throwing up. And it was just like so many people that were in my mind that I had to have conversations with. And I didn't. And then
right.
I started speaking. The first person was my dad, and everyone else followed. And then it never happened again.
That's so huge, and I love that you brought up that point because it just reiterates, that Eastern medicine and how it's so connected to
Mm-hmm.
our emotions. And another reason I'm just so passionate about the fusion of those is because you cannot have
Mm-hmm.
one without the other. People come in all the time with
Mm-hmm.
throat issues with,
Mm-hmm.
and then it moves. It
Yeah, it
doesn't
started here
stay
and then
when
it
you
went down
hold it. It
here.
moves into this
Mm-hmm.
respiratory, yes, and all of these things, thyroid,
Fibroids.
artery, all of these, adrenal is what
Mm-hmm.
I mean. Um, so
Mm-hmm.
many of these things that this is why I have clients use different modalities like
Yeah.
scream
Yeah.
therapy,
Mm-hmm.
singing therapy, all of these things because it's not woo
God.
woo. And a lot of people look at it as hippy dippy or all of this stuff. And it goes back, if you do the research, this shit existed far beyond where our Western
Absolutely.
medicine has
Absolutely.
been. We are behind if we're looking at the Western
Mm-hmm.
medicine model versus the
Absolutely.
Eastern as far as
Mm-hmm.
healing, getting to the
I
root
tell
of
people all the
it.
time the one thing that I've done that I found that was exceptionally powerful was if I couldn't, there's certain people that I couldn't speak to because they were so fucking hard headed and they didn't want to hear me.
Mm,
I would write a letter and I would
mhm.
burn that shit. I would burn it.
Yes.
And then I would
Yes.
call on Archangel Metatron to come in and help me pull cords, cut
Mhm.
cords, release those contracts, burn those fucking
Mm,
contracts. And I would visualize all the contracts, the sea
yes.
of contracts in a sea of fire. And then I would call on
Mm,
Archangel Raphael
I
to
love
mend
that.
my heart space, to put his
Yes.
green flame around my heart space, to just heal my heart space because it's a
Mm,
lot. And I do have a spiritual teacher that I do work with, and she's helping me to learn how to redirect energies that don't belong to me and how to place a grounding cord and just
mm,
send that shit where the fuck it needs to be in the middle of the earth and keep it pushing. So those are things that
mm.
I'm learning how to do now where my body isn't open anymore for people to come in and grab at me.
Right.
It helps me to pay attention to
Right.
who is who and what is what, and who I should give access to and who not to give access to. Because it's like, are
Yes.
you with me intentionally? Is your heart pure to be around me, or is there an agenda? What is it?
Right. So I was working with another amazing healer, and she put it as you have control over your
Mm-hmm.
energy bubble. Instead of just always
Mm-hmm.
being wide open, you have control of how and how you
Absolutely.
manipulate that. So I think
Yes.
that that's kind of what I'm hearing you
Mm-hmm.
say, is that you've gotten to this point where it's this process of, okay, maybe being so
Yep.
closed when you were younger to
Yes.
being wide open to, like, okay, that's not working
Exactly.
either.
Mm-hmm.
And that all circles back to being in
Yep.
tune with self and what feels good, what doesn't
Exactly.
feel good. I could talk to you for absolute hours,
Of
but
course.
thank you so much. Phoenix Freedom's information will be linked in the description, all of her, where you
Mm-hmm.
can find her, follow her, work with her. She's amazing,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful human. And I'm so thankful that our paths have
Absolutely.
crossed. Thank you,
Thank
Phoenix, for
you.
being here. And I'm hoping that we can definitely do
Absolutely.
this again, because I think we have so much to
Yeah, we
talk
go
about.
for hours and hours and hours, girl. We just be sitting here all day like,
Right.
like, okay,
Exactly.
time to go.
All right, sweetheart. Thank
We'll talk
you.
soon.
I look forward to talking to you guys in the next episode. And remember, connection over perfection.